You guys have asked for a review of the Hisense H9G more than any other television this year. Ever since reviewing the H8G and calling it our best cheap 4K TV to beat, you guys have asked, well, how is the 9G? Well, the wait is over. So hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, because today we are reviewing the Hisense H9G Quantum Dot 4K Smart TV. The Hisense H9G is the brand's current flagship model. It comes in two sizes, a 55 and 65 inch diagonal. We are looking at the 65-inch model here today, and it is a true 4K display that utilizes quantum dot technology that should produce more accurate colors when used in conjunction with its LED backlighting. Now, with respect to its LED backlighting, we are talking about a full array LED backlighting system that supports local dimming with up to 180 zones. So this should give you good black level detail, not to mention contrast. Now, the H9G has support for HDR content, specifically Dolby Vision HDR, as well as HDR10, and it also has support for Dolby Atmos audio as well. The H9G has a refresh rate of 120 Hz, though it is not HDMI 2.1, and this is going to be a little bit of a mixed bag for some of you hardcore console gamers out there. I am not a hardcore gamer, and I'm not on the bleeding edge of the latest video game technology, at least not yet. So this was a little bit less of an issue for me. Still, there is a dedicated game mode that improves input lag, not to mention it's all powered by the brand's HiView processor and controlled via an Android TV interface. Without looking at the included legs, it can be difficult to tell the various Hisense models apart from one another. The brand's style is minimal but effective. The most notable aspect of the H9G's appearance is its glossy screen. A lot of manufacturers are going with a more matte-like screen, whereas the H9G screen is very much glass-like, not unlike what you're going to see with OLED. This enhances the appearance of blacks, but it also enhances reflections quite a bit. Out of the box, the H9G ships in its Eco or Energy Saver picture profile. And if you watch this channel, you know that those profiles are never ideal. So I'm not even gonna waste your time with how they measured. The picture profile you're gonna want to choose is Theater Day, because Theater Day is the most accurate picture profile the H9G offers. In fact, it's so good out of the box that in my tests, it fell within the parameters of being considered calibrated out of the box. In its Theater Day mode, I measured the H9G at around 650 to 700 nits of total brightness. Now, Hisense claims a maximum brightness of 1000 nits. And in its standard or vivid picture profiles, or with its brightness and backlighting set to max, I was able to confirm these claims, but I do think that you need to be prepared for a more realistic light output of about 600 to 700 nits. And if you're a fan of HDR, you needn't be concerned, as this is still plenty bright to enjoy Dolby Vision and HDR10 content in the real world. Black levels through the H9G are also impressive. In its Theater Day mode, I measured absolute black at 0.0035. So while not absolute black like what you'll get on OLED, I doubt the vast majority of viewers are really going to be able to tell the difference between the two formats when looking at an all-black test pattern. Though with real-world content, I do think there is going to be a little bit of a noticeable difference, which we'll touch upon in just a second. The H9G's Theater Day mode is terrific with respect to grayscale and color accuracy. Out of the box, I measured a grayscale of having a margin of error or delta E of 2. Anything below 3 really isn't visible to the naked eye, so this is a very good measurement. And it also means that the H9G's white value is natural and neutral and not biased towards red, green, or blue. Colors were equally impressive with a delta E of 2.1. In fact, the only real error that I saw was an under luminance or under brightness, because saturation and hue were bang on. With real-world content, specifically broadcast television and movies, the color accuracy and the grayscale of the H9G's Theater Day mode means that you're going to be treated to a very natural-looking image. Skin tones are natural. Fine detail like hair and the textures of clothing are rendered brilliantly. With respect to backlighting control, this TV did very well, putting it up there with some of the best QLEDs on the market right now. I'm not going to say that blooming was a non-issue, as there did seem to be about a pixel or two's worth of halo around stark black or white objects on test patterns, or specifically text or logos that appeared against a stark black background, but on a whole, it wasn't anything to get too worked up over and was far better than what I've seen from even costlier displays such as our LG 8K TV. But with real-world content, I really do consider blooming to be largely a non-issue. Speaking of text, one of the areas where I felt the H9G wasn't as strong was with its sharpness, specifically its sharpness as it relates to text and strong vertical lines. From proper viewing distances, I think everything appears as it should. Text is legible, it's smooth. But get up close and personal with it, and you are going to start to notice some edge artifacts. So again, from a proper viewing distance, everything is fine. But inside of, say, 6 feet, I do think some viewers are going to start to notice some irregularities. In terms of contrast or contrast ratio, the H9G is good, but not great. Earlier in this review, I talked about its black level measurements, and while the Hisense measures well, it does seem to lack a little bit of contrast in its black level rendering, which is noticeable in real world viewing. A lot of enthusiasts are going to refer to this as crush, whereby the low light scenes appear a bit one-dimensional or comprised of one color, when you know that there should be more shades of, say, black and gray present. Now, the H9G is not the worst offender, far from it, but it does appear to sacrifice a little bit of low light contrast in order to obtain its stellar black level performance. And the same can be said of its highlight performance, where it too crushes the last 10 to 20% with respect to contrast and delineation of the brightest parts of the screen. Though when viewing your favorite content and not test patterns, I don't think the vast majority of viewers are really going to notice. Now, with respect to panel uniformity and brightness, our H9G was fantastic, though I will admit your mileage may vary. One thing that I will note with respect to the H9G, and I noted this on the H8F, the H8G, as well as the R6, and that is that the viewing angle of these displays is good but not great. A family of 3 or 4, all seated on the same long sofa, are all going to be treated to the same experience, but as you approach that sort of 180-degree line, I think you're going to notice things like color, sharpness, and just clarity in general. It's going to start to diminish. The H9G's Android TV interface is good and snappy. It's not as quick or as responsive as standalone Android TV devices like NVIDIA's Shield or Chromecast with Google TV, but it is superior to the Hisense H9G, and it absolutely crushes the Roku-powered R6, which is just painfully slow. Now, the dedicated game mode did improve motion and input lag, but I will admit I am a casual gamer, so if you're a hardcore gamer, you may have different feelings than I did. On the whole, the H9G's image is very good, great even. It's a fantastic example of not only value for money, but why you don't need to go broke to get a great performing 4K TV in 2020. In terms of comparable TVs, the most direct comparison has to be the 6 series from TCL. Now, the TCL does utilize mini LEDs for its backlighting scheme, whereas the H9G relies on a little bit more of a traditional LED-based design. The H9G has more zones with respect to local dimming, which results in marginally better control of blooming, but this is really only visible when viewing test patterns, because with everyday real-world content, these two displays are far more evenly matched. The Hisense has the 6 Series beat in terms of absolute brightness, as it can reach peaks up to about 1,000 nits if you play your cards right. The 6 Series really does cap out at around 700 nits, though with real-world viewing, both displays have about a 600 or so nit total brightness, which makes them far more equally matched. In terms of image accuracy, the H9G is the superior TV out of the box, because if you put it in its theater day mode, it does meet the criteria as being technically calibrated from the factory, at least in our tests. The TCL 6 Series does not do this. It requires calibration. And the H9G is simply easier to calibrate. It does not rely on you having to use an app in order to access its finer calibration controls, specifically its grayscale and color management system. If you're a gamer, the 6 series does have a few more features with respect to gaming in comparison to the H9G, and to me, it did look marginally better when playing video games like The Last of Us 2 on our PS4, but I am splitting hairs here. Now, I prefer the Android TV interface of the H9G to that of the Roku OS found on the 6 series, but you can easily bypass the 6 series Roku OS by connecting a Chromecast with Google TV. Now, the 6 series is offered in sizes up to 75 inches, whereas the H9G caps out at 65, and I'm always a fan of a bigger display. I did prefer the styling and build quality of the 6 series compared to the H9G, but I understand that styling is subjective. That said, when everything was said and done and both displays were calibrated, there's an intangible quality about the 6 series color rendering that I found myself preferring, but I understand that I have no real basis scientifically to back this up other than I liked it. So which of these two TVs is going to be best? Well, that's best left up to you. In all honesty, I could be happy with either one. Other notable comparisons include Samsung's Q70T as well as Sony's 900 series of LED displays, both of which are coming to the channel soon. So you're gonna have to check back for my official thoughts on those. And that leaves us with the 90 series nanocell from LG. Now, the H9G has more backlighting zones and far better control over its backlighting zones in direct comparison to the 90 series nanocell. That said, I do tend to prefer LG's colors as I just find them to feel and look more organic in direct comparison. Also, the LG does sport quite a few more features as it relates to gaming in direct comparison to the H9G. As for how the H9G stacks up against the 8HG, which I know is a very popular TV at the moment, but you have to understand the H9G is the superior TV in every way, specifically as it relates to brightness, backlighting control, overall panel uniformity, and processing. That said, the H8G is the better value. It's an insane value at the moment, but if you have it in your budget and can stretch it, the H9G is still the better TV in every way. As for the differences, I mean, look, the H8G is a fantastic television. I stand by our review where we called it the best cheap 4K TV to beat because it really is. But if you are going for absolute image fidelity, the H9G isn't so much an update to the 8G, which is a value leader. The 9G really is a shot across the bow towards reference caliber displays. This is my 4th Hisense TV review, and each television has been incredible in its respective price category. And the improvements that the brand continues to make with each new release makes these TVs real contenders. So unless you need a specific feature as it relates to gaming, or maybe a little more light output, or perhaps a different operating system, the H9G should be on your short list of affordable, easy to use, smart 4K TVs to buy. I absolutely love it and consider it one of the top 4K TVs of 2020. So that's it. That is my review of the Hisense H9G QLED 4K TV. What did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, I have a question for you. I know, big surprise. But what sub $1,000 TV makes your list or would be your pick for best TV of 2020? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and ring that bell so that you are notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Christy left you down below, know that that is a great way to show your support for this channel, and many of you have, and we thank you very much. You can follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that's it for me today. So remember, the only person that has to like the sight and sound of your system is you. So happy watching, happy listening, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.